Welcome to those of you who just recently joined. We're so glad to have you here with us. And for those of you that I have not met, my name is Blair Foreman, and I am one of the managers of college and university relations at the Washington Center. We're thrilled to have you here with us today. I see people writing in the chat coming from all over, so thanks for taking some time out of your day to join us. So today we have Ann Burke and Christina Kulich here to speak with us about seminars, our seminar programs. And this is the first session of our Ask a Liaison series. So before I introduce them, I do want to just give some housekeeping rules. This session will be recorded and shared, like I said. So if you don't feel comfortable having your face on the screen, we just ask that you stop your video. We also would love to hear your voice. We definitely want you to join the discussion, but we just ask that you stay muted. So go ahead and mute your microphone unless you are speaking, just to keep the audio clear and so we can hear from our presenters. And on that note, we will open up discussion later in the session. So we'd love to hear from you, any questions you have, or just sharing your experiences with our seminar programs. So we hope to hear your voice, and we'll have some time for discussion moving forward. And then lastly, we do have Reed May here, one of my TWC colleague, Senior Director of Admissions and Student Marketing, and he is kind of on our tech support. So if you have any issues, feel free to chat him directly and he'll be able to help you out. So we'll go ahead and get started. I want to introduce today's presenters. We are thrilled to have Christina Kulich from Suffolk University and Ann Burke from TWC here with us today. So Christina is an instructor for the Political Science and Legal Studies Department at Suffolk University. Along with teaching on campus courses, Christina manages the internship program and short-term study away programs for her department. Christina has been a TWC liaison and faculty leader since 2016. And as liaison, she has attended 6 seminars. It would have been 9 if not for COVID. And she has supported over 30 students in our academic internship program, and she's served on TWC's Liaison Advisory Board. So we are thrilled to have Christina here with us today. We also have Ann Burke joining as well. Ann is our Director of Academic Seminars at the Washington Center. Ann is a seminar alumna herself. She has been working at TWC for over 10 years and is responsible for overseeing the development, promotion, implementation, execution, and assessment of TWC's domestic academic seminars. Ann also collaborates with universities across the country to create academically based custom programs in Washington, D.C. So I'm going to pass it over to Christina and Ann to launch our session today and tell you a little bit more about our seminar program. So Ann and Christina, I will let you take it from here.
Hi, everyone. So glad to have you on the call today. Love talking about one of my favorite subjects, which is seminars, and talking about the programs we do have and really how you as liaisons and potential faculty leaders can really integrate our programs into what really is a course that you may already have on campus or one that you're thinking of building. So this is really an opportunity to learn more about opportunities that you could see yourself participating in a program at the Washington Center. So really providing the structure, the opportunity for students to come to Washington, leveraging the opportunities we have to really, bring to your students a new perspective. Giving them the opportunity to network, whether that's through the educational briefings that we set up for the groups that come, or if it's one that you are working with maybe alumni on your own because you've made those connections over the years who are in Washington. But then really at the end of the day, it's minimizing a lot of the logistical legwork that you would be doing as faculty trying to get a new course or an existing course set up on campus. This provides a lot of that work for you already done. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the seminars that we do offer, so you have kind of a context, and then we'll go into a deeper dive with Christina on how that's being done at Suffolk. So we have our Inside Washington program that takes place in January. That's an opportunity for students to come to Washington to see what's going on inside the Beltway. Really, again, leveraging the resources we have in Washington, the speakers we have in Washington, the many organizations we have in Washington for students to kind of really see what's going on within the political sphere, mainly on the federal level, but then also how media is covering politics and kind of giving them an overall survey course on what's going on. But every 4 years, we change inside Washington to the Inauguration. We are looking forward to Inauguration 2021, albeit in a different format. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But also another way for students to engage in what's going on in Washington. And we also, in May, do a program called National Security, focusing on just that, national security, primarily at the domestic level, but also how we're working with our international partners to protect our borders, both in physical space and online. And then there's always the opportunity throughout the course of the year to work on customized programs. So if neither of these programs inside Washington are national security fit, there's opportunities to build customized programs that are unique to schools. So we've done programs on nonprofit, education, just those are two to name a few. So, but without further ado, I would love to bring on Christina, who I dare say after 6 seminars is I consider a friend to, not only just a faculty leader, but who's really done some great work on Suffolk's campus and really integrating our seminar programs into the work that she's doing. So I'll pass on the floor to Christina, and then I'll be back on a little bit later.
Okay, great. Thank you, Anne. I'm very happy to have been invited here to share a little bit of what I've done with TWC as a partner and what we've been able to do with our partnership with TWC at Suffolk. So I think the first thing I'd like to say is that the partnership with Suffolk and TWC goes back 40 years or more. So we have a strong history to build on. But what has happened since my arrival at Suffolk in 2016 and taking over this program is that we've shifted our focus a lot more to building up the seminar side of the relationship. So it was a little bit of a hurdle in the beginning to get enough interest to host a full cadre of students to come to Washington. But what that really required was somebody within the department to own it. Because this, unlike internships, which are for everyone, is very much within the wheelhouse of the political science department. So having a champion and a faculty leader who recruits, travels with students, and works with students really was the key to success here. The most popular, cost-effective, and the program with which we've had the most success, short of the inauguration and conventions, and I do have to say it hurts still to hear that we had to cancel the convention program this summer. The one program that has been the most successful has been Inside Washington, or every 4 years when it magically transforms into Inauguration. And the key to success there really is that it is an elective course that is part of a spring course load for students. So they're not paying extra fees to take an additional course. So that has made it seamless, and it has also fed into Suffolk's historic mission of access and opportunity. Right? So we are not making this something that is only something that students who have the funding can afford, but everyone can do it. The other thing that makes, I think, our relationship and our arrangement with TWC, if not unique, then certainly special, is that we have, up until this day, managed to convince our administration to fold in the cost of housing into the program fee. So our students for the January program, whether it be Inside Washington or Inauguration, are paying for that what they would a typical course in their spring course load. So that the financial piece is kind of low-hanging fruit, but really important in terms of participation. The other thing that I think I'd like to point out about it is that it has become something which is a signature program. Students, I don't have to recruit. I am now in the very happy position of being able to limit participation. I've designed, with the help of TWC, a very customized program that takes advantage of what is already an excellent program put together by Anne and the rest of the seminar staff, but managed to build around that something which is a semester-long program for our students. So the educational briefings that we attend in the afternoons are ones that I, working in conjunction with TWC, choose, and that are amplifying themes that the students will continue to address throughout the course of the spring semester. So for those of you who are interested in how to run it as a full credit course, I use the contact hours of those 2 weeks in Washington and then combine it with what is more like an independent study during the rest of the semester. We're very fortunate at Suffolk to be home to the archives of Joseph Moakley, who was a former chair of the House Rules Committee and, of course, a Massachusetts delegate. And it just so happens that the present chair of the Rules Committee, Jim McGovern, was first a staffer and then a friend, and now chair of the Rules Committee. And his papers are also at Suffolk, housed along with Joe Moakley. So we have a connection in all kinds of ways. So typically I design this around a theme of Congress past and present, right? Past meaning the onset of Moakley's era in Congress, which is in the post-Watergate era, which is interesting in and of itself, and then looking to today. And we look at issues that were present in the past and how they have changed, or unfortunately, in many cases, have not in the present. So heading into the 2 weeks in Washington, students not only take advantage of the program put together by TWC, but they have a roadmap of knowing that they have to choose a theme that they are going to examine over the course of the rest of the semester. They use the opportunity of the speakers series as well as the educational briefings as a way to do, if not primary research, then participant observation on the themes that they've chosen to work on. And the rest of the semester is run more like an independent study. They are required to report and work in groups, and they develop their projects over a series of timed deliverables, meeting with me. And they also have to make use of the Moakley archives. So for many of them, this accomplishes a lot of different goals. Not only do they stay focused and follow developments in the area or the theme that they've chosen to work on over the course of an entire semester, for many of them, it's the first time they ever do real primary research in archives. And then at the end of the semester, we also require them to produce a research poster and present in an annual student research conference that we have on campus. So this really has become a super opportunity for our students. It also is a sneaky way to build in another elective course in our department, because like many colleges and universities, we are rationed in terms of the number of elective courses we're able to offer. But because this is a travel course, somehow the registrar hasn't really figured out that it does count as an elective, so don't tell anyone. The other thing that has made it a success is that we've been able to leverage the time that students spend in DC for new content, for web stories, for advertising, experiential education. One, I think two, was it Anne? I think it was 2 semesters ago in Inside Washington, we had members of our communications staff and a staff writer and photographer in bed with a group of Suffolk students and follow us around for 3 or 4 days. And they created a beautiful web story which highlighted all of the experiences of all of the students. So this is great promotional material for our university. And in addition to that, we've also been using it as a platform to build and maintain and make much more robust our DC area network, alumni network. So we always host an evening event, and not surprisingly, having a a group of 20 excited undergraduates and graduate students intermingling with Suffolk alumni makes a party much more lively, right? They are at that point very ready to ask questions, to network, and to show how excited they are. So that also has been a success. And then I guess the last point that I'd like to raise is that I have found that students attending seminars it has also been a primary pathway to having students decide to do a full semester or summer internship. They come to DC either for Inside Washington or for national security, and they get the bug and they want to come back, right? They get excited and they want to do it. And in addition to that, they also have a chance to live and see and experience the facilities and the strength of the programming. So it takes away that element of mystery or risk, gives them more information, and makes them much more likely to apply to do an internship semester. So I think those are the main points that I really wanted to hit. And then we can we can turn it over now to Anne to talk a little bit more about her part of the seminars, and then I would be happy to open up to Q&A.
So thanks, Christina. Thanks for sharing your experience at Suffolk. It has really been a great partnership over the years, so hopefully we can replicate that with other schools as well. So yeah, ways to engage with TWC seminars. So yeah, our signature seminars, that's what we call our Inside Washington, National Security, those that we really put together the full program, and schools come ready and willing with their students to participate. Ways to customize it. So once we have the students in, we have faculty who are interested in coming and participating with their students. We're working with the faculty leaders and kind of making sure that it's really the experience that works for their the course that they may be having on campus as well. So there's a lot of conversations that are happening before, so that we can really, again, make it kind of your own class on campus. But certainly we love seeing students who are coming in ones and twos as well, maybe that maybe trying it out for the first time, and we can certainly integrate them into other groups so that they get the full robust experience, maybe with another faculty leader who's attending from another institution.
We are planning for Inauguration 2021 to be virtual, which will be a big change for us. We, of course, always value the chance to have people in DC, but given everything that's going on, we want to be able to prioritize a high quality experience, and we think that we can best do that by preparing to bring all of our speakers directly to you and your students wherever you might be in January, and regardless how things look when we get there. We are also, as a consequence of that, shortening the dates a little bit. So we're kind of packing everything into the 11th through the 15th, but we're planning the same type of engagement with the same sorts of speakers that you're accustomed to seeing at Inauguration. And for those of you who haven't had the chance to attend before, Inauguration is typically pretty unique in that it features an array of folks who've just come off of the campaign cycle, who are part of the transition effort, who are really thinking ahead to the 100 days of an administration that is about to either renew or begin anew, if it's a win for the challenger, in this case, the Democratic nominee. We are excited to have Dr. Julia Azari as our faculty director. She's worked with us in the past, and she and Anne are actually going to be hosting another session on the 13th to really dig into the planned content and really what they're envisioning for Inauguration. So we're excited about that as well. And we are also, in addition to the adjustment I mentioned with the schedule, because of our decision to move online, we're also adjusting the cost of participation. So normally Inauguration costs $23.95 per student. This year it'll be $1,500 for each participant, but the same structure regarding faculty leadership applies, meaning that if you are interested in bringing, of course, I mean virtually bringing a cohort of students to participate, you can automatically secure a position as a faculty leader as long as you have 6 students from your institution who are going to participate in the program. So it creates a great pathway for you and your students to connect for the upcoming seminar. So Anne may have some more to add to that when she revives her internet connection. But Blair, if you want to go ahead and move ahead, I think we can do that now.
Anne, it does look like you're back. Do you have anything to add at the moment?
No, Reed said it quite eloquently. All of the same components are there, and so we are really being mindful of the fact that if you're counting it as a course on campus, that contact hours are important. So trying to put in as much as we can in that 1 week, and of course having the readings and the assignments and the other bits that really add to that experience.
Great. Well, thank you, Anne and Reed. I appreciate you guys jumping in and tag teaming on Inauguration 2021. We are looking forward to it. And now we can go ahead and move into our discussion. So I will go ahead and unmute you all so that you can speak. And we just want to hear from you what questions you have. We'd love to see your faces. So if you want to turn on your video and ask some questions, that's great. Or feel free to use the chat and you can go ahead and ask your question in there as well.
I have a quick question that I want to jump in with. I see a lot of people on the line are maybe new to seminars, first looking at joining. So I was wondering, Anne and Christina, if you guys had any advice for liaisons or schools that are just in the beginning process of thinking about doing a seminar. What are some of the first steps they could take to start engaging with us?
I mean, this year, like anything else, I would say is different. I mean, in a typical year, we would begin recruiting. And the best recruiting tool actually is other students who have already done the seminar, right? They post on social media when they're there like crazy. They talk to everyone about it, and it's something that people look forward to. But typically, in a normal year, the schedule would be the students who show interest need to come and apply with me. We have an internal process that also sends applications to our Dean of Students in order to make sure that there are no academic, behavioral, or financial reasons why students wouldn't be excellent representatives of TWC. And I typically direct them to, I usually have a couple of meetings. We have a recruiting visit often, and I again, will echo what I said before. The best advertisement for the program is students who have done it already. I mean, students are much more likely to listen to their peers than they are to me. I mean, they listen to me. They don't entirely ignore me, but it's a different thing. And they hear a different perspective. And I am always surprised by the tips and pearls or the things that students choose to share, because it's entirely different than the way that I'm looking at it. So I find that to be effective. And you have changed your recruiting strategy, certainly around internships, and have been providing a lot more support for students who are interested, meeting them where they are, tweeting, communicating through social media. And that has been helpful because it has taken the burden away from me, for which I am eternally grateful. I think Louise had a question. Yes. I saw pop up. Actually, why don't you just, we're so few, why don't you just unmute Louise and talk?
Hi, Christina.
Hi, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Hi, Anne. And Chiara, I'm seeing all these, I've spoken to these people and have never met them, so it's very nice to meet you all. Christina, could you briefly mentioned how your university or your program finance a housing piece or worked it into your programs, the program fee? Could you elaborate on that? I wasn't quite clear.
Sure. Sure. So for the Inside Washington or Inauguration seminar, as opposed to running it as, say, a January term or a winter term course, it's a spring course on the books as a spring course, which means students can take it as part of their typical spring load.
Got it.
And the deal that we negotiated a long time ago on the basis of access and opportunity was that we would not charge an extra housing fee for students. So they register for a course at Suffolk, which is key to the seminar. We allow both grad students and undergraduate students to enroll. and they pay their typical tuition, right? So whatever financial aid package they have would include that as an elective course.
Okay.
The national security seminar, despite my best efforts to do something similar, is a summer course. So that the pricing there also doesn't include an extra fee for housing, but running a summer course or taking a summer course for a student is a different ball of wax because their financial aid package doesn't cover summer programming. So if they register for 6 credits or more, they're eligible to take out loans. So attendance at national security tends to be smaller because it's financially more challenging for most students. So those two programs were run differently. And in a world, had there been no COVID and had we had national conventions, we had already done a great deal of fundraising in order to help support students going to both conventions. And the university saw it also as a way to really leverage visibility. So we were developing a plan maybe for pool press coverage, for student live tweeting, for perhaps embedding another communications person in order to tell the story of students' participation in the conventions. So there is some funding available outside of that, but the most cost-effective option for students is the January seminar, whether it's inside Washington or Inauguration, because it's a spring course.
So it sounds like your university supports the students for the seminar for some amount of the program fee.
They pay nothing.
The students pay nothing.
No. The students pay for a typical course.
Understood.
They could be taking a math course instead of this course, but right. But the university has decided to not charge a housing fee on top of that or an administrative fee on top of that. So all students pay is the cost of tuition for a regular elective course.
Okay, so my understanding about how it works, because our school recently, since I've been involved, has sent students to the Inside Washington media program when Dr. Ansari was involved, right? And it was fantastic. We had about 6 or 7 students at it. And our university was able to support the students in part with the program fee, but their transportation and tuition was on the students, and the students' financial aid, because most of our students get financial aid. Most of the financial aid was picked up, obviously, and they just had to bear the cost of transportation and meals. So we kind of split the cost with them. So
right.
That's the way we did it.
Right. The transportation and meals cost is a piece I left out. That is the student's responsibility.
Right.
And we do have, we have been doing some scholarship and some fundraising. So, there are some monies available for students in need. But, I would like to support more students. So one of the things that, working on this DC area alumni network is doing, one of the asks of participants at the events that we hold is whether or not they might be willing to be a mentor to a current student, right? That's a pretty low-hanging fruit ask. Would you support a student, right? Sponsor a student to do national security, which is a summer course and therefore more costly.
Good idea. It's a great idea.
And it is the perfect time to do it because they're in this group of really, really excited students who have had this amazing experience, and no one can sell the program like students to other potential students or potential donors or simply networks within DC. And the alumni in the area really like the connection to what's going on now rather than a stale magazine or a newsletter. I mean, they love that part of it.
Good. Thank you very much.
Sure.
So I can ask a question, Christina.
Sure.
You mentioned your fundraising for these students to be able to have the opportunity to attend a seminar. Could you talk to us a little bit more about your marketing and fundraising plan?
The marketing and fundraising plan really was that our advancement office decided to prioritize this in advance of the political conventions courses. And they had initially set a goal of raising enough money to send 15 students to each of the conventions to cover full costs. And then along came COVID. You know, we had actually a promise from an alum who had done inauguration, I think Obama's first inauguration, and then since made oodles of money, who promised that a $100,000 contribution that since has been rescinded since the program is not happening. So, you know, we're not holding bake sales or car washes, and I know a lot of other universities are doing that, but we really sold the idea to our advancement department because they see this as a low-hanging fruit ask of alumni that really makes a huge transformational difference in a student's life, even if it is not an entire away and doing an internship, but having that kind of an experience. And it's the sort of thing that they can see in real time. It's not money to, I don't know, to buy a set of books or to, you know, it has an immediate payoff. And the advancement people, in their language, they see it as almost a gateway drug, right? It's a small donation for people who have that kind of cash and maybe thinking about making a contribution to their alma mater, and it has absolute benefit that they can see. They can meet that student. They can follow that student along. So I think that was our strategy there. We also have been longtime contributors to the annual scholarship dinner, formerly known as the gala. So we do have some monies from there, and we have established a scholarship fund that interested donors can earmark donations for, and it's named actually for the liaison who preceded me, John Burke. He established the relationship with the Washington Center, so he was the main point of contact between TWC and Suffolk going back to its inception.
That's great. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Sure.
What other questions does everybody have? You can either say it out loud, you know, unmute yourself, or put it in the chat. We have a few more minutes for discussion, so while we still have Anne and Christina, we'd love to continue to hear from them.
One fun project I wanted to highlight was something that Anne and I worked with Christina on last year, but we actually worked with a marketing class on campus. And it was such a good time because Anne and I both actually were able to go up to Boston, meet with the class, talk to them about both our seminar and our internship program. And the class themselves figured out, okay, how are we going to get students interested in the program? How do we engage with students? And I thought that was, it was a blast for me, but also a really creative way of at building interest? Because I know sometimes we get the question of like, I'd love to be a faculty leader, but where am I going to find 6 students? And I thought that was a really great way to do it.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed to say that I'd almost forgotten about it, and it wasn't my idea. It was suggested to me by Anne. Someone else, some other liaison had done this, but our communications and marketing classes have a capstone project where they take on a client, and the client became the TWC Suffolk partnership, and they produced a marketing plan of how best to get the word out to students. And there are 2 tracks here. I mean, here we're talking about seminars, and seminars are absolutely within the wheelhouse of our department, and they sell themselves. They're well known. Our department is the largest department in the School of Arts and Sciences, so we have a ready pool of students to draw from, and it has now become something that students plan for in a 2 or a 3 or a 4-year plan to be able to attend the seminars. The National Security Seminar, we've also made it a little bit more attractive to students who otherwise might balk at the cost of a summer course by making it an acceptable elective to fulfill electives within both the IR major in our undergraduate program and also in our master's program. We have a political science master's program with a concentration in international relations and also something called GPP, our global public policy. And you wanted to say something, I think, about this class.
Yeah. I was just going to mention that it wasn't even the students that attended the actual seminar that were doing this project. It was the marketing class, and so it really was integrating other parts of campus that that wouldn't have otherwise kind of had a hand in the seminars, which was really cool.
Right, which in and of itself is another extension of the experiential part of what TWC does. Right, we were able to say, how do we best promote this? Come up with a plan and execute it. So in much the same way that I can say that the Washington Center does such a great deal of the legwork for me while we're in DC, and I keep students pretty busy, right? I make a lot of my own plans for students, drawing on my own networks and in line with the projects that they're going to have to do during the spring. But the TWC staff does an excellent job of working with me to find appropriate sites to visit, people to talk to, institutions to go to that fit within that program. And in that same way, they're doing a lot of the footwork, so I don't have to. And in the same way, having these marketing classes do this for me has lessened the load that I have on a very large campus with, as I'm sure most of you who are professors somewhere, your portfolios are full. Right? It is a difficult thing until it reaches kind of a takeoff capacity and is self-sustaining.
Well, thank you, Christina and Anne. And I just wanted to see, it doesn't look like we have any more questions in the chat, but I wanted to see if you all had anything you wanted to add before we move on from discussion.
We always like developing new partnerships and working with students from other schools. I think when we are able to kind of gather in person, usually it's fun to hear the perspectives from different universities. One group last year, a group from Kentucky was working with a group from New Hampshire, and they found that there were some differences, but very most times there's a lot of similarities too. And so that was kind of cool that they were able to come together, an experience they wouldn't have otherwise had on their campus. So that's part of that networking that students are doing, not only with professionals in Washington, but also with fellow students as well. And we hope to replicate some of that for Inauguration 2021, but certainly the perspective of a lot of different speakers.
Yeah, I mean, I could just add to that. I'm beginning to try and wrap my head around how I'm going to approach it now that it's a 1-week virtual program. And I'm thinking that if I can manage to do this, we'll probably offer it, we will offer it as a usual spring elective and structure it differently. Maybe have follow-up at intervals virtually with some of the speakers and follow along some of the issues, particularly with inauguration seminar. It's that most of the speakers are talking about crystal balling, right? What if? What does a transition look like? What is going to happen? What policies are going to be enacted? How, no matter who wins the election. So the real story at that point is the possibilities, right? And the learning task and the engagement task over the semester is to follow along and see what develops and what doesn't in the themes that we do. But I'm thinking that something that might be attractive to students is also to break that up into modules and offer a 1 or 2 credit winter term course, or have students enroll for a full semester long, full credit elective course. I don't know. I just found out the dates today. So, but I'm thinking about the possibilities and having, I don't want another Zoom meeting, period. I am sick of Zoom. However, there are silver linings, and there are silver linings in terms of access and opportunity, right? You may well have more students who are able to participate at a lower cost and without the burden of travel. So it could be a really good way to dip your toe, if you're thinking about it, into the TWC experience without actually having to travel to Washington until we can solve this problem that we find ourselves in.
Absolutely. And it does look like we have one more question in the chat before we move in. And this is probably for you. Are you expecting the National Security Seminar in the spring?
I hope. in a short and sweet as I hope. It will all depend on how we're doing and how comfortable we're feeling bringing students to Washington. Of course, we want to keep safety in mind, but the plan at this point is come May, we will be good to go and having it in person again.
So I think Anne and Christina show a great example of what a partnership can look like between a university and TWC to create a customized program. And it's worked so well, as you've heard through this conversation. And so, as Anne said, we're always looking for new opportunities, and we'd love to partner with you. So if you have any interest, please feel free to reach out to us. So just some next steps. We're really glad that you joined us today. Thanks so much for being a part of the conversation. We will send you a recap. So we'll send this recording, we'll send the slides, and we'll send some more information on the seminars as well for further learning. So check your inbox for an email coming soon. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to the Office of College and University Relations at occur@twc.edu. And if you have questions about seminars and you want to get in touch with Anne directly, if you just email us at occur@twc.edu, we can go ahead and pass you along to Anne from there. So if you liked what you heard today, we would love for you to join us at our next Roundtable series, the second session in our Ask a Liaison series. And this one will be more catered towards our internship programs. So if you take your phone and scan this QR code here, it'll actually take you to our registration link. So feel free to register for the next Roundtable on Wednesday, August 19th at 1 p.m. We'd love to see you there. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining. We're really glad that you took some time today to hop on this Zoom meeting with us. So, and Anne and Christina, thank you so much. We really appreciate hearing your insight. So thanks for presenting today.